Well, we've got teams that showed up, teams that apparently didn't show up, some real surprises. Uh, the saying at Tennessee at the beginning of every season is it feels like 98, the year that we last won a national championship. But I think they're talking about that in Arkansas. It feels like 1998 when they had quite a team. This is Third Saturday in October podcast, your SEC tailgate podcast for the rest of us. Find us online at thirdsaturdaynoctober.com and get links to all of our social media, our tailgating 101 cheat sheet. If you want some ideas on how to get your tailgate started, download that over on our website. Plus, you can find links to YouTube where we broadcast the podcast. I'm Tennessee Bradley, speaking an octave lower because my son picked up a cold at school, and sharing is caring. So now the whole house has it. With me, as always, is Alabama Chris. How you doing, AC?
Man, I'm doing good. I feel bad for you and the family that your son brought home a gift for you all and spread it around. But you're right. It was very kind of him to share.
Yeah. I mean, he just, I don't know, somebody fumbled and he picked it up and ran it the whole way back. So
yeah, he did.
We're into week 5 now.
Can you believe we're already in week 5? This is insane.
We're starting to see what teams really are and what teams really aren't. So we're gonna go through our surprises, good and bad, from week 4, make some picks and pregame. So let's just jump right into it. All right, let's go through these scores from last week. Georgia fielded a team against Vanderbilt. I don't know.
Don't know what Vanderbilt did though. Yeah,
62-0 Georgia. The LSU squeaked by Mississippi State by field goal, 28-25.
I feel like that to me. Yeah, that to me just says, like, again, Mississippi State, I feel like the identity is basically like it was last year. It's kind of like, well, I don't know, we're trying over here. And I feel bad a little bit for Mike Leach just because of, like, is this harming his reputation long-term or whatever? But it is Mississippi State, and they kind of are where they are most seasons, unfortunately, for whoever is at the helm. But with LSU, it's like, even though it was a win, what are they right now? 3-1. I still feel that Coach O's hot seat chats have not really dissipated at this point. He's still firmly in that hot seat.
Yeah, it's both of those teams. You just don't know what you're going to get each week. Surprising, Missouri lost to Boston College in overtime, 41-34. Arkansas beat Texas A&M 20-10. Auburn struggled and was behind quite a bit in the game against Georgia State, but they pulled out a win, 34-24. Kentucky, I don't know what happened to their offense. It was there early in the season. Now, I think they're hanging out with Vanderbilt's football team. Maybe they went to Hawaii, but Kentucky wins 16-10 over South Carolina. Alabama 63-14 over Southern Miss. Not really shocking there. And in Florida, beat Tennessee 38-14 after Tennessee made it exciting for a half. So, Chris, what stood out to you in week 4?
What stood out to me was the confusion I had around Missouri losing to Boston College. I mean, again, I know that Boston College is a team that every decade or so pops up with like this Cinderella story kind of feel to it, but I did not put them in. And again, I pay so much attention to the SEC. I'm a little oblivious when it comes to other parts of the country, especially smaller schools like Boston College or Rutgers or, University of Ohio, not Ohio State. Those kinds of schools, I'm like, I don't know, maybe they're good, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. And so to see that is a little confusing. Auburn straight up losing to Georgia State, except at the very end after that weird blown call. I'm going to go ahead and call that both surprising because, I mean, Auburn struggling to Georgia State, but almost surprising that Georgia State didn't end up winning it because that was the better team on the field. And I hate to say that again, as an Alabama fan, I love to hate Auburn. and hate on Auburn, but not if they haven't earned it. And so the fact that they just showed up and felt like they were laying a goose egg, even though they came out with a W, confused the heck out of me. And then Tennessee, Florida. I mean, we kind of called it that we thought that Florida was going to take this one, but I appreciated that Tennessee hung around as long as they did.
Yeah. And, the talk kind of in Tennessee camps was they didn't show any quit, even when they were down late.
Yeah.
It's like the game's over. They were still running hard, hustling. That was good to see.
Yeah.
They took care of the football. No turnovers by Tennessee, even though they did cause a fumble and recover a fumble. That was good to see. But my biggest surprise, though I picked Arkansas, I wasn't sure that they'd actually win. Sam Pittman. Yeah. I don't know if it's whiskey. I don't know if it's like hog brine, but whatever they are drinking in Fayetteville is working.
Did you say hog brine?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's it. If that is it, I've never tried it before because that sounds very exotic when it comes to even me growing up in rural Alabama. That sounds exotic, but I'll try it if it can give you that kind of results.
Yeah, it's probably just the sweat of Arkansas football players, which is got to be
true.
A little salty, but hey, bacon is salty. So, yeah, Kentucky also surprised me. Against South Carolina, I thought Kentucky was going to be right behind Georgia and Florida. Now, I will say Georgia looks even better than I expected going into the season. Florida, maybe better, but at times, I don't know. They also seem quite beatable against a lot of other teams. Only going up 3 at halftime. That would have been more of a dogfight in the second half. So I don't know. Interesting week 4. But
and quickly, just as we move on from there, just wanted to mention as Arkansas with Arkansas as well. I feel like I'm in the same boat as you. Like I hoped that they would give Texas A&M a game. I hoped that they would win. It looks like that they had the momentum to win, but I didn't know if they had the talent or the actual like let's pull it out on game day sort of thing. Because we've seen a lot of teams that have those hopes that you get in game day, and it's like okay, well it plays out on the field that the better team wins. And as we see, again, Texas A&M having issues at quarterback and trying to find that consistency there, that's one thing. But like to be beaten by 10 is a whole other thing. And you and I were talking right before we were reading some, not standings, but power rankings.
Yeah.
So it's like not actually the rankings officially, they are power rankings and just how people see them. And Arkansas were only behind Alabama and Georgia in the SEC power rankings. And so to see the Razorbacks at like number 3 as far as power rankings go is pretty amazing, surprising, and just worth celebrating here in the SEC because they are putting together quite the season so far.
Yeah. Well, and just as a reminder, Sam Pittman, because we just got through some coaching searches in the SEC, and one of the big critiques of a coach is, well, what head coaching experience do they have? What coordinator experience do they have? Sam Pittman, I don't believe he's a coordinator, and he's got 0 head coaching experience. And look what he's doing year 1. That's
quite impressive.
It's not all about exactly what your resume looks like. It's about a personality fit, philosophy fit, and I think Arkansas's got it right now.
I agree.
As far as pick'ems, we had a 3-way tie for first. Bryce Old, which I believe is you, Chris, BB, and Josh tying for best record. And it's not that y'all picked the same teams either. It just worked out that y'all all got the same final score. So overall standings, I did tally this. I'll try to get it posted. I may just post this on Instagram. That may be what I do. That's probably going to be easiest.
Yeah.
So far, through 4 weeks, the top 3, BB 26, JB 25, and Bryce Old 23.
Ooh,
So I gotta say, BB had a fantastic week one. Um, beat everybody else by a couple of picks. Everyone since then, it's been within one or two. And so it's been a
nice.
really tight race.
Yeah,
But
congrats,
BB out front right now.
Woohoo!
So congrats, and we'll be getting stickers to you very soon. So with that, it's time to look forward to week 5 and make some picks. So
Yeah, man.
We go in kickoff order. So we'll start with our early 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoffs. Arkansas at Georgia. Georgia, an 18.5-point favorite. I'm going with the underdogs to cover.
Yeah.
It's simply a momentum thing. Georgia at times has, while dominant, at the same time, that game against Clemson now doesn't look as impressive with Clemson really
True.
really starting to struggle over in the ACC.
No, I mean 2-2, and a lot of people talking about I think Feinbaum talking about Swinney being a sore loser and all this kind of stuff. It's wild to see the quick change over there in South Carolina with the Clemson Tigers. That turnaround has been fast and just kind of gross to watch because I'm just used to almost the past decade Clemson always being at least top 10, if not top 5 easily.
Yeah. Well, everybody's kind of watching with those eyes, just like their mascot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I feel like that Clemson for me and Arkansas hold a similar spot in that they are surprising me, but for different reasons. Clemson surprising me in their like the almost dumpster fire aspect of the season so far. And then Arkansas are surprising me just because they keep showing up and keep bringing it to them. But I mean, with this game, going against the Georgia Bulldogs, it is a difficult spot in the season or in the schedule to be 4-0 and have all that momentum in Arkansas and then play the Bulldogs like this. I don't know that they're going to pull it out, but it may be one of those games kind of like Florida and Alabama a few weeks ago even with a Florida loss, they looked respectable. And so they didn't really slide at all, even with a loss. And so I feel like that if Arkansas can keep it close, and I think that they really can, especially now that we found out recently that I think that JT Daniels, the Georgia quarterback, has got like a pulled lat or something like that. And so they're saying he will start, but he has a small injury. If Arkansas Razorbacks can figure out a way to manipulate that part of the game, they could shut down or hold Georgia to either pulling out their secondary or their second string QB or just not being as productive as they want to be on offense. And so if Georgia's always got a stout defense, but I think that if Arkansas can figure out a way to slow down Georgia's offense, they got a shot. Yeah. So I'm saying Georgia wins, but doesn't cover. So I'm also picking Arkansas in the pick'em.
Well, after winning 62-0 against Vandy, I'd probably have a strained throwing arm too. Stetson, the mailman Bennett over there, a lot of people were really liking what he was doing last year before JT Daniels returned from injury as well. So, yeah, I'm feeling like Arkansas only loses by 10, maybe a touchdown. But I don't know that it gets closer than a touchdown with that final score. Then Tennessee at Missouri. Missouri started out like a 3 or 4 point favorite. Now it's down to just under a field goal at 2.5. I'm going with Tennessee. I think after coming away from from the Florida game, there's a little bit of confidence, even though they lost.
Yeah,
that they've got gutsy players. It's just how many of them are going to be healthy for this week. But I think Tennessee can win this one. I think it's not an easy win, but it's very conceivable for Tennessee to come away from Columbia with a W.
I agree. I know that they're playing in Missouri, but it only being a 2.5 point lean to Missouri, that's that home field advantage that we talk about a lot. So I feel like that what the odds makers are saying is these two teams are pretty evenly matched. Tennessee Although they came up with an L against Florida last week, I don't know that they had their wind knocked out of them quite like Missouri did with Boston College.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is just my mind thinking that there could be a hangover effect of just like the devastation of now having this Boston College loss. Maybe they don't show up like they want to. And so I think that Tennessee has a really good shot to take this one down. So I'm also picking Tennessee.
And then we've got Ole Miss at Alabama. Alabama 14.5-point favorite. Is this when Nick Saban finally loses to a former assistant? I don't think so, but I think it's much like last year, coming down to the wire. I think this is closer than 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. I'm actually choosing Ole Miss not to win, but to take the points here. In a very similar way that you just said. I mean, that Ole Miss offense is so high powered. I have so much respect for Lane Kiffin as a play caller and that, as a coach in this type of situation. Ole Miss in the last decade, they went back to back beating Alabama 2 separate times, both at home and away. This will be at Alabama. And I think that the time that Ole Miss beat them first in like 2013 or 2014, wherever it may be, was also in Bryant-Denny. So it was a home game for Alabama that they lost to. This has all the trappings of a trap game, especially with Ole Miss and just scoring so many points. And also the offense of Alabama the defense of Alabama just hasn't really felt like they've really put a full game together against really good competition. So that's my place where I'm the most nervous. And that Ole Miss almost beat Alabama last year in a very similar way, a high scoring offensive game that I feel like this is going to be another one. And so I think if I'm recalling correctly, the only reason that Alabama won last year was a couple of, maybe a turnover here or a bad call here. It didn't seem like a convincing win at all, at least in my memory. So I'm going to say this is going to be another one of those. Ole Miss is just, they know how to bring it. I feel like they're going to be up for this game and they're really going to bring it to Alabama. So I feel like it's going to be a close game and especially not one that Alabama is going to have 14.5 points or more.
Yeah. Matt Corral coming back. I mean, he was there last year, so he knows how close they were. Quarterback at Ole Miss.
Ole Miss knows what it takes to beat Alabama, and they don't seem to be nervous at all about playing Alabama. And so, with that kind of confidence that you get from a team playing another like an Alabama-esque team, that's dangerous.
Yeah. Then we got Troy at South Carolina. South Carolina 7-point favorite. I'm going with Troy. South Carolina just has underwhelmed me all year. Going with Troy.
Troy is probably the closest major, in quotes, college that I grew up near down in Alabama. It's less than an hour away from my house. And so I always, grew up going to Troy games and kind of, you'd see their commercials on the local TV station and everything. And so I like Troy. South Carolina also believe has been underwhelming, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that South Carolina is able to put together at least enough points to beat Troy and to cover. So I'm picking South Carolina, even if it's by 8.
Then we got Florida by 8 at Kentucky. This has been quite a matchup the last few years. I'm going with Kentucky. I don't know why, but I need to keep picking Kentucky, and maybe one of these days they won't disappoint me.
I feel the opposite. I keep picking against Kentucky, one, because I just always am scratching my head at what the outcome is. And 2, I figure that Florida has got what it takes to take them down by at least 8 points. So I'm picking Florida with this one.
And then we got Mississippi State at Texas A&M. A&M only a 7-point favorite, even against Mississippi State at home. I'm going to continue this streak of picking all underdogs so far.
Nice.
I'm going to go with Mississippi State to keep it close.
I would love nothing more than that. I just just seeing the consistency issues with Mississippi State. I don't know how that is pulled off. I would love it, but I'm actually picking Texas A&M to have a little bit better showing that they've had in recent weeks. So I think that Texas A&M takes this, even if it's not by much more than that 7-point spread.
Yeah, well, and as I said last week, they're not saying boo, they're saying Jimbo. Then we got UConn visiting Vanderbilt. What is this, basketball? Vanderbilt by 14 and a half. UConn is not known for football. However, apparently neither is Vanderbilt. So I'm going with UConn. Look, it's going to be underdogs the whole way here.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about UConn other than come on, keep it within 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I know it. I feel ugly even saying this, but I'm agreeing with you. Even though it's Vanderbilt at home, it's rough. So I'm picking UConn as well.
And then finally, Auburn at LSU. Night games in Baton Rouge, things get weird. LSU by 3.5. I'm gonna go. How many games we got? 8. I'm gonna go 8 for 8 with underdogs this week. I'm going with Auburn to win. Look, Georgia State was not pretty. I think in a lot of ways they were looking past Georgia State, which Tennessee could tell you don't do that. Just don't do it. But I think they were looking ahead to this game because SEC West matchup in Baton Rouge at night. And LSU is not near what they were 2 years ago. Auburn may have been caught looking ahead a couple weeks. But I think Auburn pulls it together and wins against LSU.
Nice. I'm picking against you here and choosing the LSU Bayou Bengals to actually cover this one.
You're gonna be sleeping on the couch, buddy.
That's true. Although I will try to try to couch it in a way to where my Auburn Tiger fan of a wife looks and sees that, like, I'm just being realistic and I choose Auburn a lot, blah, blah, blah. But I think that, I mean, with the showdown of these two Tigers going head to head, I still, being down in Baton Rouge, that's a pretty hostile environment. So even with all the issues and struggles that LSU has had of late, I feel like that they're at home. Again, like you said a second ago, some strange things happens there and at night in Baton Rouge. So I'm going to say LSU takes this one and maybe wins by 10 or so.
Well, you can make your picks as well. If you want to pick all underdogs, if you want to pick all favorites, go for it. Mix and match as you please. Just go to thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com and get signed up for our Pick'em League there. We've made our picks. We've also been surprised good and bad from last week. So now it's everybody's favorite. It's time to pregame.
Tailgate, man cave, living room, pregame, burgers, ribs, chicken wings, chip and dip, pregame, scotch and a lot of IPA, Coca-Cola, pregame, slaying darts, cornhole, pregame. How you gonna watch?
So, Chris, this week, how are you watching Alabama Ole Miss? I mean, maybe you just want to watch it in a dark closet, on your phone. Maybe you want to. I tell you where you don't want to go. You don't want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings again.
That is definitely true. Yeah, this is one of those that I have had circled on the calendar as just one of those that I'm going to be nervous about. And so the more insular that I can be, and maybe going inside that closet while I watch it on my phone, just me and my phone, so I can cry when I need to. That's probably the best. I don't feel like I'm a bad sport, but I can't hide my face when I'm fearing the worst for Alabama. So it's hard to be out in public with this kind of face all the time, just looking around with these big, huge eyeballs, like, what's going to happen? What's happening to our dynasty? But that's where I am.
You're over there looking like the Clemson mascot. But
that does look like a reject from Disney World or something from like back when Mickey looked so creepy back in the 50s or 40s or whenever it was.
Yeah, it's like when your 3-year-old draws a tiger for the first time.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, with saying all that, I will be at home on the couch watching this one. It's going to be a typical week for me. Last week was probably the most untypical week I've ever had. My wife and I, we were in South Florida for just less than 24 hours. By the time we landed and the time that we got back home, it had been just over 24 hours that we were gone. So it was a whirlwind trip. I didn't get to watch as much football as I wanted to, but I caught up on some recaps and such. So I'm going back to more of my traditional, just enjoying myself in my own home where I can cry or cheer and no one will care.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, My in-laws may be coming in town this weekend. Not sure. If they do, my father and I will be butts on the couch with the kid, just watching football all day.
Good for you.
And then Saturday night at 6 Central, we'll be on the virtual tailgate, hanging out, watching the night games. Interesting kind of lineup schedule. We got 2:30 games. One on CBS, one on the SEC network, and then a 5 o'clock kickoff, and then a 6 o'clock kickoff, and then 6:30 kickoff. So there'll be a lot of football to watch during our virtual tailgate. Again, just go to thirdsaturdayiNoctober.com to get that. We are through the first month of SEC football.
Just snapping by. Just so flying, man.
It's October. The leaves are changing. They are changing to the color of Tennessee's Power T. Just gotta throw that out there. And we love college football. That is why we talk about it every week here on Third Saturday in October.
Amen, brother.
There's no better time of the year than football season. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Send us your Monday morning quarterback. Send it to us Saturday night or send it to us on Sunday. Just get it to us by Sunday at midnight. Just giving us 30, 60, 90 seconds of how your team did, your reaction to the game. And we will post those on Monday on YouTube, on Facebook, on your favorite podcast player. You can find it all of those places. But it's a big week. It's every week in the SEC is a big week.
Yeah. So, we've already filled up one hand here. Week 5, ready to
go. Let's go. And I'm just going to say roll Vols.
Oh, baby. I'm so excited about some really good football and being able to watch it this week. Roll Vols, baby.